I want to take this time to thank everybody for their support of myself, Mark, and the music and mental health movement. Please take this time to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified of when I drop some more great content. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Um, this is going to be my review slash recap of Big Brother Canada season 11, episode 3. And as you can see, I have a guest on here with me, Nick Shorts. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Hello.
And if you haven't seen Nick Shorts is famous for making short and captivating videos for the Big Brother season 24. So I looked forward to seeing those videos to see what was going on in the house in a really capsulated form.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to ask you, like, what are your thoughts on the BB Can season so far? I know that we were talking about the digital dailies, just an overall feel of how you feel about the show.
I really like it so far. I think it's refreshing and it's a little different from BBUSA. So there's a lot of aspects that I do like with BB Can. I do not like the digital dailies. It's not the live stream. So that's different. That's different.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm definitely not a fan of digital dailies. I tried to give it a try. I watched some of the day 1 and day 2 digital dailies, and I wasn't feeling it. Like, the whole day goes by, and then the next day they're going to put up 2 hours of footage of their personal choice of whatever they want you to see. It's not much time. It's not much to see, and it's hard to find the context of what's going on the show. So, down with the digital dailies for me. Not a fan.
Right, exactly. So they used to have something called Cliff Notes where they would condense like a book in, you know, 20 pages or something like that. But to me, it's not even a sum of what's happening in the 24 hours. It's
Yes.
literally what they want you to see.
Yes, I agree. I I used to use Spark Notes and Cliff Notes in school. And it was funny because one of my teachers, my English teacher actually, was well aware of Spark Notes. So so he would actually buy those books and then read everything in the chapters, and when we got a test, he would make sure not to put the stuff from the Cliff Notes in there. So I feel like BB Can is doing that to us. They're like, we don't want you to see this and we don't want you to see that. So we're just going to put in a little bit of people talking in the kitchen and a little bit of just sitting on the hammock and saying a lot of nothing. And then, edit the show how we want to edit the show.
Right, right. And yeah, so there you got a point. It's what they don't want you to see that they're not showing.
Before I even get into the episode, I wanted to talk about something you mentioned to me before we got on this live, which was how the show claimed that the reason they took the live feeds away was to protect the mental health of the house guests.
Right.
So, what do you think of that?
So my question is how by us watching, by the fans watching the live stream, how is that indirectly or directly affecting the mental health of the house guests that are enclosed in a secure environment?
Yeah, so I have so many thoughts on this. And that's a great question that you just asked. And I have so many thoughts on that because it's such a thought-provoking question because they're in the house. Even though there's Twitter and there's social media and there's all this other stuff, that's not in the house with them. that's what's happening outside of the house. And I know that if I was their defense lawyer, I would probably be making the argument of like, oh yeah, we're protecting them for when they get out of the house and for what they're going to see and experience and all that stuff. But I personally feel like they're protecting the brand. They're trying to avoid having a situation happen where the live feeds are just rolling and then like a Kyle situation happens or something else like that. And then they're trying to do damage control. You know, they put the Be Right Back screen on there, but then people are like, this Be Right Back screen has been on for hours now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to stay on top of it. And I think they are hoping that they can throw this digital daily thing out there and people will like it and take to it. And possibly the other renditions of the show are like, I hope that this works out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ultimate damage control situation, like get ahead of it before it even airs.
Right. Right. So for protecting the brand, is it the BB brand or is it the BB brand plus Wendy's plus Circle K?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I mean,
BB Can is so blatant with their sponsors.
I love that though. I love that. I was going somewhere yesterday and I saw a Circle K and I'm like, oh, I should go in there because I see it on BB Can.
They really had the guy in the house in the Wendy's outfit with the Wendy's logo and all that stuff, serving the Wendy's.
And see, I said that last year and I said, you know, they really need to start doing that with BB USA and actually have, you know, the people, you know how they get the deliveries, they get the ribs or they get the, you know, cookout food or whatever. And I'm like, they really need to have a DoorDash person come, or they need to have, you know, someone come and get them whatever, you know, they want delivered or something like that. And someone was like, no, because, you know, they'll slip them a note or something like that. Well, BB Can does it.
Right. They're shameless with their promotion.
Right, right. And you know, I used to shop at Kroger a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed, and because BB USA doesn't show, or they don't really, they're not elaborate with, you know, who the brands are. And if they are, I think they just started within the last year or so. But they will show like the private selection brand, which is Kroger, and you know, they'll show the different things, but they're kind of quiet about it. You know, they're not going to be like, oh, you know, here's your supply from Kroger.
Yes.
So
I actually know what Kroger is because of living in the Midwest for college. I think that's a Midwest place.
yeah, I have it here. I love it. And yeah, so you know, so I like that about BB Can is that, you know, hey, you have a delivery from Wendy's. And what do I want next? When I see that, I want a Wendy's hamburger. Yeah, it works,
So they
you
did their
know.
job.
Yeah, it does its job.
Okay, so getting into the episode, I don't really have a whole bunch of notes about the episode. I just have some thoughts about some things that were main themes. And the reason I don't have notes is because it's so hard for me to have context without live feeds. So I'm literally just going off of what they show us for that 1 hour. And the main people that it seems like were in this hour, it was the Guys Alliance, but Zach. They showed a whole lot of Zach. They showed a whole lot of Santina because Santina, of course, was the head of household and she was making her decisions on who was going on the block. They showed some of John Michael. Ty got a little spin in there. They showed everyone else, but everyone else was kind of shorter segments. And it was mainly focused on Santina's decision and the influences that she had. Primarily, Zach seemed to be a huge influence on what she was doing.
Right.
So what did you think of Santina's interaction with Zach during this episode?
So
The side.
Zach is a bit controlling
Uh-huh.
already. He's a bit aggressive, I think. And so she's doing her job as head of household, and she's telling him what she wants to see happen. And hopefully, she's going to stick to her guns, and everything's going to play out in her favor.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that she's doing what she should be doing, and he's just being a little tad bit controlling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I have to admit to everybody, if you didn't see my prediction, my prediction video, Zach was actually my pick to win. And that was before watching him, by the way, because if I had watched him first and then made my pick, I would not have picked him to win. This was just like an on paper thing. I said, okay, he's an entrepreneur. He seems like he's a smooth talker, probably. He seems like he's somebody who would be able to explain his points very well and point things in the direction that he wants them to go. But watching this episode, at least from how the edit looked, he came in so hot. I want things to go my way. This is the best way and the only way. And then when he was having that conversation with Santina, and she was trying to say that she wants to put John Michael on the block and get him out through the front door, and he was trying to switch what she wanted to do and get him out through the back door, he was like, oh, I'm not trying to mansplain to you, but I'm very smart in real life. I'm probably the smartest guy in here, and what I'm saying makes the most sense. And I was like, oh, here we go.
And if you got to tell someone how smart you are, what? What?
If you gotta, that's number one. And also, if you say, I'm not trying to mansplain, he was smart enough to realize that's what he was doing.
Right.
And he was like, wait, is she catching on to this? I better throw that out there too.
John Martin.
John Martin. He said it repeatedly too. She was
John
like,
Martin.
Michael? Yeah, John Michael. And he just kept saying John Martin over and over.
Wow. And he did say that he's going to run it like a business. He said, I'm going to go in there and run it like a business. So that brings up a question for me. Do people on BB Can lie about their professions ever? I wonder.
So I feel like we didn't see. I guess I just don't really remember episode 1, like if anyone lied, but it seemed like they didn't lie from what I can remember.
See, there you go. That's where the lie feeds come in too.
That's what I'm trying. Yes, exactly. There's just too much space in between.
And you know what I like to see, like after that first night, after they shut down, the air version or whatever, then you get to see people gathering by the sink talking, 2 or 3 of them. You get to see people on the couch drinking, 2 or 3 of them, and you get to see, you already know when they come in the house that they're an entrepreneur, but are they a model or something, but are they really gonna say what they are when they're talking to the person? We're missing so much of that dynamic.
And we also don't really know who's playing the game. You know what I mean? Because like in an hour episode, a week goes by and we get like an hour episode. We only know what they're showing us. So I only watched 2 days of digital dailies. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I probably saw like 30 minutes of the first 2 days. And there was a lot more conversations going on than what they showed. Like Hope had a really long conversation with Santina. John Michael had a conversation, like a several clip conversation with Kuzi. There was much going on, but they were only showing and featuring a few people. So it feels like a really good story that we're just missing out. You know,
Right.
like how you watch a movie that is based on a book and you read the whole book and the book is like 300, 400 pages and had so much details in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you watch the movie and you're like, where's this and where's that? That's
Right.
what this feels like to me.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what are your thoughts on John Michael when he came in there and he declared, if
Ah,
I win HOH, I'm taking out one of the guys. The guys are going up.
so many of the super fans, I don't know if it's that they overreact or they overdo it, or I don't know really what it is, or they get anxious, or I don't know what it is, but they just go in there and they just like lose it. I mean, they go in there and they just, forget everything that they say they're going to do. Kind of like, okay, kind of like me watching, let's say, Wheel of Fortune or a game show and
Mhm.
or Family Feud or something, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I know the answer, I know the answer, I know the answer, and then I get on there and don't even know my name.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I think he's really overplaying.
there's very few super fans. I'm not the biggest Big Brother expert, but from the seasons that I've watched, there's very few super fans that are like Hannah that come in
Right.
the game. Even though she was excited about getting on the show, she was watching it for years and a super fan and all that. She wasn't like looking starry eyed when she got in there. She was thinking
Right.
about gameplay and strategy, and she was being smart. A lot of these other super fans that I see are those I want to make big moves. Like
Hmm.
I just want to be heard and seen, and I think they get overly excited
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
and then they feel like they probably don't feel like they're like that because they're in the house, but they probably watch it back and cringe like, yeah, I was doing the most.
Right. Right.
I feel like John Michael, though, he caught himself a little bit because he seems to be acting a little bit better now versus last week.
But is it too late to reel it back in?
It probably is because everyone is saying he's a threat. Everybody wants him out. And this seems to be a week of the popular vote.
Hmm.
Nobody's ruffling any feathers just yet. But oh, you know what I thought was interesting? The little clip of Roberto talking about what he thinks about Zach
Yeah. Yeah.
and saying like Zach is gonna be a problem in this game, you know.
And see, he's catching on early, so
He's catching on early. And what was the other thing that was going on here? Anika Anika seems like she's trying to figure out her place in the game. Um, she was having some conversations. She was trying to work her way in there with Santina. I mean,
right.
everybody was because she's the HOH. And it seems like they kind of struck up an agreement, Anika and Santina,
Hmm.
to work together as females. But I'm interested to see, right? It seems like every year the females say this.
Hmm.
We got to get out the strong guys, this and that. But then if the guys start winning, back to back to back HOHs, what I
Hmm.
see tends to happen more is even if they would like the guys to get out, if they see that their girl numbers are dwindling, they're like, my best bet is to latch on to a guy
Right.
and then be like, hey, I'm not a big threat because this and this and this guy is here.
Hmm.
I can kind of almost predict that happening with this season. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think that'll probably happen. But, I'm also wondering if how far Zach is going to go with Santina.
I feel so. Santina and Zach and this conversation that they had. I was looking at her. I was looking at her body language and her
Mm.
facial expressions. I was listening to what she was saying in the diary entries that they showed us, and I feel like she's thinking, I'm gonna work with you now.
Yeah.
But this conversation has showed me a lot about you.
Right. Right.
So I'm not trying to make some big power move at this moment, but when the opportunity comes, I can see those other guys, like Roberto, Ty, I forget who else was in there. Jonathan maybe, and possibly Hope. I don't know. Whatever, the guys, the rest of the guys, I could see them kind of working with her and being like, let's get him out through the back door. Because he is not a guy that you can just sit on the block. He will make waves.
Right. And even though Zach has his hands in a lot of places, I don't think he's set those loyalties as of yet.
No. And I think all the other guys, I think they were quick to make this guy's alliance, but didn't realize he was going to be like, I'm the boss of the guys.
Right.
Like, I'm the head honcho here. I call the shots.
So, speaking of loyalties, there may be a budding, I think, showmance with Claudia and Ty. And I don't think we should root Claudia out. She won, what is that? Now, see, I don't know the name, but for us, it's America. Well, not America's. What is that?
She was on another show.
No, Claudia won the award where she gets to the vote, I guess. Not, I want to say America's vote, but that's not it.
Oh, yes. Yes. I forgot what it's called, but yeah, the safety.
The safety. Yeah. So she's got the safety. And so I don't want to rule her out just yet. I think she, like she said, she's little and mighty. I think she might do pretty good.
Mighty, and she's low key.
Yeah.
One of those people like you don't notice, and then you're like, oh shoot, she's still here.
Right.
You should have got rid of her earlier.
Right. So, but I think she, I don't know. I kind of see a little budding showmance maybe with her and Ty. Maybe.
Yeah, it showed the little scenes of them, when they were tough together and, rubbing the fingers on their hands and all that stuff. I feel like Ty would do what he has to do for the game. He could surprise me though, because I was shocked that Ika and Dimitri got together and got married. So I'm not gonna say never.
Right.
But just looking at him, it just looked like he was kind of go with the flow.
Right.
That's just the read that I get off of his type of personality. Oh, you're interested? Yeah, sure. Why not? We can cuddle a little bit,
Yeah, but it's just the second week, so who knows?
A couple of them got the hots for Roberto. Santina and Shania. If you don't remember Shania, that's the one with the tattoos.
The bartender?
Yes.
Okay.
Shania.
Nene. That's Nene. She said call herself Shanae. I mean, she called herself Shanae, right? Shania.
Shanae. Okay. So she...
I'm still learning names.
She in the last episode declared her crush on him. She was like, and then they were in the room and she was like, oh, it's hot in here. He's like, real hot. And then in this episode, he was showing Santina his yoga moves. He is doing exactly what I thought he was going to do in this house. But
and see, that stuff the digital dailies can say for like little blurts of the show that airs. They don't have to show that in digital dailies.
We don't need that. Show us some strategy conversations.
Right.
On the show, and then show us the yoga on the digital daily. They had a yoga segment actually with Vanessa. They showed Vanessa leading out the house in yoga one morning.
That kind of reminds me of Brittany leading the
Brittany. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. They were all sitting around and she was leading the hypnotherapy sessions.
But BB24 would have nights where they would lead fitness, like, little fitness things for the house. That was cool.
Yeah, yeah. And like I was saying to you off of this, a lot of things on the digital dailies, I don't have a problem with what they were showing, but it's just like if I'm not watching it live, I'm not that interested to see that.
Right.
Because if you're only giving me 2 hours out of the whole 24-hour day, I want those 2 hours to be action packed.
Right.
I want them to be meaningful. I want them to have like a lot of strategy discussions. You
Yeah.
know how we were talking about waiting 4 or 5 hours for Turner to go to bed or for Alyssa and Brittany to go to bed so we can see the game talk at the end?
Right. Right.
It's like, don't give us that time before the game talk if you're only going to give us 2 hours.
They had us they had us East Coast people like not sleeping.
Who did I tell that ruined my sleep pattern? I think there was one of them. I was like, y'all, I told it to them on some social media. Like, y'all sleep patterns ruined my life. Or like, oh, it was Turner.
Mm-hmm.
I was on Turner's live. I was watching Turner's Instagram live the other day. And I typed it in the comments and he read it. And he was like, you're welcome. Because I'm sitting here from midnight, 1:00 a.m., keeping this thing on until
Right.
like 8, 9, 10 in the morning. Like I'm going to sleep with the live feed on and
I know.
waking up. I wake up to go to the bathroom and I'm like, I better check the live feed. What if I miss something?
Oh man, yeah. I would wake up in the morning at 7 and they would be up like
They didn't
just
sleep.
having a good conversation.
That's how they would go to sleep at about 10 to 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time,
Right.
which was like 8 o'clock a.m. for them. And then they would wake up in 2 hours or 3 hours after that. I'm like, I would be asleep all day if that was me. Like, I could not function going from day to day to day with like a 2 to 3 hours of sleep.
I know. And that's how they get you. Like your interview with Alyssa, she was saying how, they get you like that. Yeah, you're sleep deprived and then they open up the backyard, make you stay up later.
Yeah.
It's wild. They know what they're doing.
So I missed this comment in here. I'm sorry. The comment says, I feel like without the feeds, it feels like being at a movie theater, going to the bathroom and coming back to a fight scene and being hella confused.
Exactly.
I like that. That happens to me too sometimes. I'm like, oh man, what happened? You're like, I'm just going to hold this. I'm going to hold it. And then you're like, nah, I have to go. And then you come back and you're like, what happened?
Yeah, I agree. All of us are casuals at this point with BB Can.
It takes away some of your investment into the show.
Right.
Like now that I've started it, I don't like starting things and not finishing and seeing the conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
So off of the strength of that, I'm going to conclude the season. I'm going to watch it. And it's not bad. It was an interesting episode. It's just that, man, it's like, I know we're using a lot of analogies, but it's just like you're watching someone play a chess game.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're only seeing one move every 10 moves they make. So you're like, oh, they cornered the queen. That's nice. It looks nice on the board, but how did they do it? Like, that's half the fun. Seeing the strategy of how we got to that point.
Right. I agree. A lot's missing.
I think they gave Zach a villain edit for this. Not saying that he didn't act like a villain in a way, but I feel like they were like, you know what? We're gonna encapsulate all these Zach moments and all these things people are saying about Zach, and sway the audience's emotions to look at Zach as this tyrant. And tyrant in a game way, he hasn't said anything bad or crazy or anything like that.
But see, even that is a part of the scenario that they want you to see, because oftentimes a house guest will come out and say, hey, that edit was wrong, or that edit wasn't right at all,
Right. And when we have live feeds, even though they can talk about the edit, we see so much that even in like a 24-hour day, if they cut out 4 to 6 hours because they're trying to protect themselves in the show and all that, we still saw 16, 17, 18 hours over the course of 90 days.
Right.
So it's like we're getting a pretty good view. Like, yes, they might have cut off something here or there, but generally, I feel like those edits are true to form.
Right.
I mean, those feeds. And I've only heard only the people who come off looking bad are the ones who say that. Have you noticed that? Like if somebody comes out and then they see all this stuff that people said about them on Twitter or whatever, they're like, oh, but you didn't see the whole conversation. Oh, you don't know the context of this. We were having this conversation by the pool and this person said this first. And then I came over here and then all this other stuff happened. And it's like, nah, you're better off just being like, I was wrong here. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's why I really like how Nicole has handled herself post Big Brother.
Right.
Instead of just coming out and doing all these different interviews and being like, oh, it was the edit. It's the edit. I wasn't wrong here. It was the edit. You didn't see this and you didn't see that. She explained her position. But she was also like, I was also wrong. The house got to me. I was worried about my mom. And now she's not on the Big Brother stuff.
Right.
She's just kind of living her life and protecting her mental health.
As it should be, yeah. Yeah.
Whereas other people, Daniel, going on a tour, trying to explain away everything they did on the show and be like, it's everyone else, but not me.
Right. I missed 2 words when I went to the restroom and I don't understand the context. Yeah.
Yeah, like as I'm watching this Big Brother Canada, I have so many questions going on in my head as I'm watching each scene. I'm like, okay, what happened here and what happened in between here? And what other conversations were had? And after Zach and Santina had that long conversation, did Zach go and talk to Ty? Or did Santina go and talk to Ty? I don't know. I know Big Brother Canada would say, well, check out the digital dailies.
Digital dailies ain't telling you nothing, though.
They don't even give you the courtesy of breaking down the digital dailies with headings. That's the least you could do. You know what I mean? Like
chapters.
Yeah, like this 5 minutes here is Santina and this person talking. It's like one big string of random whatever. What you see is what you get. And you have to be very dedicated to watch the whole thing. Very dedicated. Lots of time on your hands, lots of patience to watch all the commercials in between. It ain't for me.
Yeah. And I can't even watch it because I don't have the VPN thing, right? So it's like
you can't watch it without a VPN.
So I was like right there, okay, you know what? You're making me work too hard for something that's only a few minutes that I'm gonna want to see.
Yes, and I got the VPN and I was trying to chop up some digital dailies and do Big Brother a favor and put them on my channel. but they blocked them. So I was like, all right, it's not worth it for me. I can't wait for the BB25 season to start.
Yeah. Yeah, me
I
too.
am interested in this. I'm not going to say I'm not interested in this season, but like I said, just less invested, much less invested.
Right. I think we all are. So,
Do you know what day is? Well, you wouldn't know any more than I would, I guess. Did you watch other seasons of BB Can?
no, I've only seen this season.
Oh,
But I've
you
seen day one since like Big Brother started. But I've only seen this season of BB Can. I did watch a few episodes of that one that you were watching.
season 5, yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
an interesting season, man. It was so many, the players were so like big and bold. So it was very interesting to watch that season right after BB24 because
Mm-hmm.
BB24 they were so reserved. Like they were scared of what, well, not all of them. In the beginning it wasn't like that. But once we got down to around the jury selections, they were pretty reserved with their moves.
Hmm.
Except for the big explosions that happened, of course.
Right.
Which, okay, I want to talk about censorship. So, I haven't seen every season of Big Brother, but I've seen every season of The Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And the way how The Challenge used to be, everything goes. Fights, hookups, whatever is happening, you're going to see racism, whatever is happening, you're going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that the world has evolved as it should. And I think that there's no place for certain things that did happen on reality TV back in the day. But I think that now we're too censored,
Mm-hmm.
especially for something like Big Brother, because I feel like the most interesting thing that makes Big Brother have the most passionate fan base of any of these shows and has kept it going for all these different years is the fact that we just put them in the house
Mm-hmm.
with all these different people, different cultures and different backgrounds, different orientations, different religious beliefs, different everything,
Mm-hmm.
and just get to watch unfiltered as they navigate each other and navigate this new environment together.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like once you sign up for the show, it's on you what you do from there.
Right. Right. So I've been watching since season one when they had the AOL dial up and you had people you had people like Julie said, you had people voting, AOL, and you had to dial up and watch the
I can't even
feeds.
imagine that.
Yeah, yeah, it was nice. It was entertaining, and the so America had more of a say too, as far as who was voting for the house guests to stay, stuff like that. They would also have where you can like vote on, I don't know, you would vote people out by like how much they participated in the chores, and it was just very, very um like introductory stage one. They were just like trying everything out, and very, very beginner ancient type times.
Yeah.
So I mean, with that said, though, it's evolved. The challenges have evolved. Of course, the world society has evolved, and I think I don't know if they become more censored, um, but I know back then, and now I don't think lawsuits were a thing. Now, since I can't remember the number of the seasons, but I think probably about maybe, I don't know, 10 seasons ago was when 7 to 10 seasons ago was when you started hearing and seeing like the lawsuits and stuff.
Yeah.
like with Mickey's season. Um, and I think that's when that whole censorship thing kind of, started. You started hearing about that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm only thinking from a fan perspective. I
Mm-hmm.
guess behind the scenes, they do have a lot of legal things that go on
Mm-hmm.
behind stuff that happens in those houses. So I guess they just consulted with the legal team and they were like, we got to make sure we censor this, we censor this, we censor this. Like even something as simple as um talking about other shows while on the show. They're not allowed to do that.
Right.
You hear how they're like, no singing, you're not allowed to sing because they don't have royalties.
Mm-hmm.
This is all new stuff, like relatively new stuff. Like it wasn't like that in the early days of these reality TV shows, but now they're muddied up with all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, I think that there's certain boundaries and certain things, like a work environment. Like you have your contract for work, and there's certain things you can't do or say at work.
Mm-hmm.
I think those things should just be explicitly in the contract. And it's like you could be terminated, you could be kicked off if you are violating this or this policy. I would rather that than the person be kept in the house, but they cut several hours of footage
Mm-hmm.
to protect them.
Now, season 24 was the first time I've ever seen them do that. They've never done that before. However, Big Brother After Dark, BB Bad, I think it was on like Showtime or HBO, and they did have, it wasn't like the dailies, but they did have where, and it wasn't like they would show you what they wanted you to see, but they would have Big Brother After Dark on for 3 hours. So I believe it was like from midnight to 3 o'clock in the morning. So those
Okay.
3 hours, they knew they were live and in living color. They knew that they would entertain us. Now, I think they told them to entertain, because they would get their deliveries at that time sometimes. And that, so they said, I think they told them, hey, you're live, so you're going to be live at this time, every night, so um and then they knew that people were tweeting about them too, so
Yeah.
that was something they did. Like I said, it was only about 3 hours, but it wasn't what they wanted you to see so much as they're taking 2 hours from a 24-hour live feed, and it
Something I
wasn't
noticed about the BB24 lives is that they often were like, I wonder how this is going to look. I wonder what the optics of this is going to look like. I hope I don't come off like this. I hope I don't sound like this. Like these people that came on that season
mm-hmm.
were hyper aware of the social media aspects.
Mm-hmm.
Like Turner said, oh, hey, dude, I just started watching on season 21 because my girlfriend likes the show, but I didn't really watch it before. But she was like, hey, you should go on. And I said, sweet. So I just applied and, I got it. So he said that he watched, I think, 2 or 3 seasons, maybe, or 4
Mm-hmm.
before he went on to the show. But he knew all the statistics of how much these people's Instagram and Twitter and all that, TikTok and all that were boosted. Because before he went on the show, he went on some website that shows stats of how many more fans and followers these people gained after they went on the show and who got the biggest boost and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So they all knew. They all knew all that stuff.
And see, this was the first time I've ever heard of that word optics. Be careful of the optics. And
Same here.
I had to look it up, like, what's optics? And I mean, I think those were buzzwords that they threw out. And I remember Brittany too talking about, someone in her family saying that, someone had gone on someone's social media page, and they were doing some kind of talking or whatever, and you know so yeah, they were very much aware, and I don't think that's by accident either. I think they were made aware of all that stuff, and then I think they were also made aware of what seasons to watch too.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I can see that. I can see that. And people have been talking about that and saying, what is it called? What is it called? Those people that they get recruits, right?
Yeah.
People have been talking about that on my channel, like saying that in the recent seasons they've been getting a lot of recruits. And I know that was the case for BB24 because I saw a lot of their interviews,
Mm-hmm.
and the majority of them were not even fans of the show.
Right.
It was like Michael, Brittany, and like one or two others, Amira, I think. There was only like a few of them that were like big fans of the shows and have seen every season. The
Mm-hmm.
rest of them were like, somebody told me, hey, you'd be good on the show. So I decided to just check it out. And I thought I liked the cookout season. That's what Taylor said.
Right.
Taylor was like, the first season that I saw was the cookout season. And that was the specific reason why I wanted to go on there,
Mm-hmm.
because of the cookout.
So, one of her pageant executives, Shannon, was on the Celebrity BB. I think that's her name, Shannon.
He said, Amira, a real fan.
That's what she said. See what I mean about the super fans? Not all. I would say probably 60%. But yeah, it's like they get in there and they kind of combust almost. I don't know.
Yeah, like the super fans are like, oh my God, I'm on the Big Brother house. I got to talk to everybody and make all these strategies and all this stuff.
They
And
move.
they probably go to bed like, yo, I just did so good today.
Right,
And
right,
everyone is like, oh no, we got to get that person out.
right.
Nah, they're too much.
Yeah, you've got to have that balance. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk
You
away,
gotta,
know when to run.
I always say, like, so if you watch back BB23, because I watched back BB23 to be able to see Alyssa's perspective before I did my interview with her.
Mm-hmm.
X was chilling.
Yeah.
Like, he was involved in a lot of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let me see. Y'all can see me. I thought it was two separate screens. Nice to meet you, Nick.
Hi, Zoodoo Man.
So X was chilling. Like, even though he was involved in strategy, he wasn't like, Hannah, you have to do this. Derek, you got to do this, and this one you have to do this. He was just like in the mix. He had his hands in the mix, but he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't stirring the pot.
Right,
Because
right.
if he had done that, everyone would be like, oh, this guy is a big threat. We got to get rid of him quick.
So be friendly, talk to everyone. Don't
Yeah.
have loyalties with everyone, but be
Look
out
what
there
just
in the.
happened to Dan on this season,
Mm-hmm.
where he goes in and talks to Santina, and he was like, is the reason you're putting me up because I was the last person to talk to you? And she was like, well, I guess so. And I'm like, you got to be in the room.
Right. You can't.
Alyssa talked about that. Like, you don't want to be the person who is not involved in the conversations,
Mm-hmm.
because then you'll probably be the topic.
But
You
you
know,
got to bob and weave too. You got to move with the flow, and so that one person in power, you kind of got to bob with them and move with it. And it's just this real fine, delicate line.
yeah, and I agree, and I think that let me see. If X was more involved physically and socially, so Alyssa said to me, and she also said in another interview I saw her do, she was like, if we had realized how good X was at everything, we would not have kept him as long as we did.
Mm-hmm.
Because she said we started to realize towards the latter half
when he had to get out of jams, how easily he was winning those comps. They were like, oh shoot, he could have won everything.
Right.
And just like chose not to. Like an athletic lawyer. Okay. That's all I have to say.
But he didn't see, and that's the thing. He didn't tell him he was a lawyer.
Right.
See, I wonder if they do that with BB King. He didn't tell him. So, a lot of them lie about their professions. But then, and then that's where I was going to say, so you downplay your, physical aspect. And then, that's where the whole interaction and character, personality comes in to play, the social.
Yes. So Zudaman says both Big Brother and Survivor are absolutely about being flexible and adaptable.
Right.
I had to say, I just started watching Survivor last season. Oh my goodness, it's about being adaptable. Like, the strategy changes so much on that show. I would go crazy on Survivor. Do you watch Survivor, Nick?
No.
Oh my goodness. You think Big Brother is bad when it comes to people changing up? And Survivor is a whole other animal because they're looking for idols, right? They plant idols on the island and the idols give them advantages for eviction night. So everyone goes around looking for the idols, and the person who finds it has a choice to tell the tribe or like hide it and keep it for themselves. So sometimes they're like, "Oh, I didn't see it," or sometimes they'll try to blame it on somebody else. "Oh, I didn't see it, but I think that this person wasn't around us during this time." Like there's so much lying and so much pivoting.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree. He said Survivor is the true definition of Big Brother's quote, expect the unexpected. It's so true. It's so true. Survivor is a crazy game. And they're hungry.
Oh no.
Like they're losing a whole bunch of weight while they're on the show. They gotta use flint to make fire and catch fish and stuff like that. Oh no. That's one of the last shows I would go on.
Nah, that's not for me.
But yeah, you're right. You're right, Nick, also about Big Brother, where you have to be able to go with the flow. Like sometimes you'll have it in your mind, I want this person out. This is the person I need to be out of this house. And then you kind of gauge the temperature of the house through conversation and realize that that's not anyone else's priority. So you have to put that on the back burner for that week. Like I have to wait for my opportunity to get this person out because nobody else is going there.
Right.
And then what if I say this in conversation? I really want to get John out. And everyone just looks at you like, wait, what? And then you're the target.
Yeah. Yeah, you really got to pay attention. And you got to read people too. That's the thing. You got to read people.
Yep. I feel like I'm good at reading people. But I still feel like I'd have a hard time in a house with cameras on me all the time. Like that's the part that would get me. Yeah, so Zudaman said there are no two seasons that are the same, which is the beauty of it. With Big Brother, you can argue a few winners have the exact same game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there is more curveballs. There's definitely more curveballs from what I see that they throw into Survivor. They change it up. They change the games, and then they change the idols that you can get. It's just a lot to it.
Wow. So you never really know who's going to be stabbing you in the back.
I think you would like that show, Nikki.
I don't know. I don't know.
You're a Big Brother strong, huh?
Yeah, I can't deal with the whole being out in the wilderness and eating things to survive, and I don't know. No, that's not. Look, Dire Fest was bad enough for me. I could barely
Oh my
bed.
goodness,
So no.
Firefest, like they're outside. That was just, and I didn't like that visually either. Like, it
No.
felt like it just changed the show. And some people were saying, "Oh well, the show they were ganging up and they were doing the whole big team thing," and I understand that. It did kind of break that up a little bit, and it caused this whole Joseph situation and Kyle switching on them and all that. But I feel like it's also partially Big Brother's fault because they didn't put enough twists into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, I know that you could say that the week 1 twist didn't happen because of Paloma leaving, but you should have a backup plan.
Right.
You should have
Exactly.
another twist.
They've had some really good twists. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't know why they didn't seem to really have twist this past season.
yeah, that wasn't that wasn't like they've done in past seasons where it's been creative. That was just pure brutal.
Yeah, oh yeah. And all the interviews I've heard from the people that were outside, they hated that.
We hated watching it.
We
It,
hated watching it, and then
it
we
was,
had the yeller outside that had the live feeds down for days.
yeah, it was hard on us too. Shoot. But yeah, I mean, I can see twists where a button goes off and hey, you gotta drop 52 cards and pick them up every hour. I don't know, but
Zuda Man, who would you pick for your heroes and who would you pick for your villains? That's what I want to know. If I had a number 1 draft pick, at least from what I've seen, for villains, bring me Paul. I know people don't like Paul. I like Paul.
I like Paul too.
Who would you pick if you had a choice of picking a villain to come back?
A villain to come back. Oh.
Or a hero.
Because the villains, I really disliked them. So,
Yeah.
I like Paul though. I like Paul. He was a villain that I liked. I did like
I
him.
told people that he was a likable villain. Like, I didn't like him, but I didn't hate him either.
Right.
I'm like, I hate the way he plays the game. I hate his arrogance, but he's somebody who seems like outside of the show. And people have said that. Like, Turner was like, yo, Paul is one of the coolest people I've met. And he had so much fun when they met outside the show. So he says, Paul, Evil Dick.
I was going to say Evil Dick. He came to my mind. Yes.
Daniel D, Russell, Angela. I didn't see Angela's season. I know who she is because I saw her on Challenge USA, but I didn't see her season of Big Brother.
Yeah, no. Like I said,
yeah, nah.
them villains, I really don't want to see again.
I would love to see Dan Giesling come back.
Yeah.
You know what I loved about Dan Giesling's first season is the fact that he was quirky, he was weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have any alliances. He wasn't like the big muscle guy that met other muscle guys and was like, yo, we're jocks, let's stick together. Or he wasn't like, oh, we're smarter than everyone, let's stick together. It was like he went on the block week 1 and he somehow got his way out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And people were saying he's a weasel. So I'm like, this guy's not going to last too long. I feel like his win was one of the hardest wins. That's the reason why I consider him like the GOAT of this. What did you think of his season?
I really liked it. I like Dan. I liked him a lot. Yeah, he's one of the legends.
He had an alliance in the beginning and it backfired. It did. Mm-hmm. And then he had to like reinvent his whole strategy. it was a different game back then. I feel like the game back then, the players were more strategic.
Yeah, but why? What do you think the reason is?
Why? Well, there's a lot of factors. Like what you were, remember what you were telling me about in the early seasons where the jurors were able to go home and
Yeah,
like watch the show before they make their decision.
yeah, there's that.
So yeah, there's that. And then there's people thinking about social media, how they're gonna
Mhm.
look, what
Am I
people are
walking
gonna
on
say.
eggshells?
Walking on eggshells.
I think that's a lot to do with it.
Like even watching, it might have been, I think it was BB24. I think Daniel won an HOH early on. And I remember him saying either on the show or the live feed, I don't want to put two black people up. I think he was saying that to Nicole. Like, I'm worried about the optics of me putting up two black people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this optic stuff again. If the two black people are like, you have reasons to target them, but I get it at the same time.
And the first one out on BB23 said that. I forget his name now, but Alyssa mentioned that in her interview.
Was that oh yeah, that was Frenchie. Yes, that's
Frenchie,
right.
yeah, he said that too.
Let me see what these comments say. Sorry I didn't see this at the beginning. I disagree with that. After the first week, a lot of them liked him. I guess talking about Dan probably, but he flipped mid-season, then got back in good with them. So in my opinion, winning season was great. Was not great, but good. His second season was great, although he didn't win. And some people argued that they thought he should have got the votes for that against Ian, which is why I can't fully get behind Big Brother. Almost every season is a bitter jury. Out of curiosity, did you start following me because of Big Brother? I assume so. Because if so, you must be a pretty decent Big Brother fan. I started watching Big Brother from season 23 and then backtracked and went back and watched the previous seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, Nick, I know it's getting late. I appreciate the time that you spent on here tonight. And I have really enjoyed this conversation.
Well, thank you for having me. It was fun.
And I definitely hope that you'll be back. Even if you're not back tomorrow, we'll definitely have to chat about the next episode because we got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for BB Can.
Right. And I got to remember the time. So tomorrow is Wednesday and it's 9:00, right?
9:00. Wednesday is 9. Tuesday, Thursday is 7, which I don't like, but it is what it is. If I miss it, I know I can always catch the archive. Hi, Miss Nappy Kid. Long time no see. Oh, you followed the collab that I did. Oh, yes. I just did that the other day. Welcome. Welcome. All right, everyone. Have a great night. Nick, you have a great night.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye now.